Hey, good morning. I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, broadcasting to you from beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts. Happy Tuesday to you. Wow. There's so much to talk about today. I literally could not come up with what is going to be the top story of the day. We do have some important national news. First off, I just saw a chyron that said that Trump is actually going to be going out to California to inspect the fire damage. I know Newsom invited him out there the other day, and then Trump declined Newsom's invitation. But apparently now that's on. Whether he'll meet with Newsom or not, or with the mayor, that remains to be seen. But somebody, one of you, I can't remember, said that the theme of today's show should be like how Massachusetts wants to be like California. And I think that is a very good theme. We're not going to do everything that way in today's show, but that will be a thread that runs through today's show, because I did remember the other day that I put out this tweet is like Hotel Healeyfornia. Right. So the lyrics now, which I was just singing a moment ago, have now escaped me. I'm having a senior moment. But it's a great song, obviously, by the Eagles. And the whole album is fantastic. Welcome to the Hotel Healeyfornia. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. Can you see my dimples? Right? Exactly. That's what it is. Other news today. In about an hour, Pete Hegseth is going to have his confirmation hearing in Washington, D.C. And this warmed the cockles of my heart. As some of you know, I don't drink coffee. I've never had a cup of coffee, but I do drink a cup of tea. And by the way, I'm sporting my Mass Fiscal Yeti, which they gave to me as a gift for Christmas. Thank you very much, my friends at Mass Fiscal. Liberal tears have never tasted better. But it seems as if corporate America is starting to come along to team reality. Meta canceled the whole fact-checking thing that we talked about, and you saw a lot of news on. But just today, apparently Starbucks, and I do go to Starbucks. I used to drink the hot chocolate there. Now I can just get a tea because I got to watch my sugar. So Starbucks, new policy, buy something or get out, which is great. Which is hopefully going to free up more seats. I hope. Buy something or get out. I love that policy. And can you imagine that? Can you imagine the liberals in, say, the summer of 2020? That's racist. That's right. You can't make us buy something to sit in your store. That's racist. And now, of course, it's Starbucks policy. But have you noticed, by the way, that a lot of your Starbucks, or some of your Starbucks, I noticed the one in Hanover. I was really disappointed. I hadn't been there in a while, but it's basically, there's no chairs. There's plenty of space for chairs, and there used to be chairs there. And I used to stop there, and I would get the hot chocolate and a little sandwich, and I'd spend 20 minutes there. No chairs. They got rid of chairs. It's the drive-through, and it's the pickup counter, but they don't want you to sit there, and they don't even have a place for you to sit. I think they have a place, like a bar where you can stand, even though they got plenty of space. They've expanded a lot of these facilities to be no sitting to begin with. All right, so that's your national news there. I didn't put this in the title, but I should have, because it is breaking news and very important, and it's something that we've talked about on this channel a lot. As you can see, I got my no wind turbine bumper sticker over here with my friends from Nantucket gave me that. But yesterday night, my daughter would say, yesterday night, Congressman Van Drew from New Jersey has announced that he has been drafting an executive order with President Trump's team that would put what I understand to be a 6-month moratorium on the construction of offshore wind. And I don't think that you announce this type of thing unless it's pretty much going to happen, right? You either announce it because you want to make it happen, and I don't think that strategy works with Trump, or you announce because it's going to happen. And Congressman Drew Basically, here's his press release. Congressman Van Drew collaborates with President Trump on executive order to halt offshore wind projects. This would be huge. Of course, yesterday we talked about the how many dolphins died on Cape Cod, 6 times the annual average last year, with one of those events being the largest known dolphin stranding in the history of the United States. That happened in Wellfleet. This would be huge. This green energy offshore wind thing is not only an environmental disaster, but as Trump has mentioned, and he's talked about the environmental aspect of it, the killing of the whales, but it's also just incredibly foolish economic policy. So it's bad on both fronts. It's not green. The only green in green energy is the money that people are making off the government subsidies, right? The only green in green energy is the money that people are making off of government subsidies, which a small skim of which they donate back to their favorite politicians, Maura Healey. Right? That's it. And all those legislators that everyone needs to wet their beak, so to speak, with this green scam. So I'm very, very optimistic about this news from Congressman Van Drew. Here he is actually with President Trump in 2020, January of 2020, at a rally. So if I don't know a lot about Van Drew, but if I'm not mistaken, was he a Democrat and then became a Republican? Somebody can fact check me on that. By the way, great to have you here this morning. Happy Tuesday to you. I think he was. I think he became a. I think so. And yesterday, actually, and I sent this because I thought it was such a great clip. I sent this out, and somebody did fact check me yesterday because you know what I did? I misspelt Oakham. Oakham apparently has an A in it, not a U. And one of you corrected me, and you know how I constantly bash the media on this program. So I want to issue a correction. Oakham's name is not spelt with a U. It's spelt with an A. I was wrong. And if you remember the old Happy Days episode with Fonzie, where Fonzie can't admit he's wrong, you get the joke. I was wrong. I misspelt it. But as I hope some of you will give me a dispensation because, as many of you know, I can't spell, and I'm really bad at names. Like, really bad. So is Massachusetts becoming California? Well, there's another place that it might become, and that's Colorado. So listen, this kind of just epitomizes, I think, so many people's in Massachusetts viewpoint on the Healey hotels. Welcome to Hotel Healeyfornia. Listen to this person that interrupts the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston, and his press conference. And currently at the podium, you can't see Mayor Johnston. Currently at the podium, it looks like maybe the police chief. Listen to the heckler question the police chief.
Yeah, I saw you at the parade, you fucking coward, Mayor. This is your fault! Crime-loving Democrats are burning this city down!
Democrats are burning this city down.
That fucking asshole needs to do our job. The city's burning! People are being victims!
I'm sorry, Colette, can you repeat the question?
Could you repeat the question? Democrats are burning the city down. That's really not a question, but it's just an emphatic statement. And if you got the feeling that that's the same thing that's happening in Massachusetts, you got bingo, right? You got bingo. And that was from Denver, as I said. So it's just astounding to me how the Democrats will not move off of this illegal immigration. And again, as the conventional wisdom, and I bought into the conventional wisdom that this was all about votes. But actually, it's not about votes. Votes are kind of a downstream benefit, potentially. It's really about congressional seats. That's what it's that kind of opened my eyes. Recently, it's about counting heads. It's about congressional seats, and that's what this is all about. This massive immigration. Otherwise, we're going to lose congressional seats probably to Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Republican, and then Republicans would control Congress for a long time. So this is about congressional seats. Mark Lombardo, who ran for a minority leader in the Massachusetts House. Way to go, Mark. I'm glad you did that. By the way, we'll be referencing Mr. Jones later in today's episode. Mark Lombardo hits the nail on the head. Another day, another headline involving criminal illegal aliens with ICE detainers ignored. Mass Governor, this is the result of your sanctuary state policies. Judges need to be removed from the bench, and resignations and terminations from the government administration is needed. I'm so glad you brought that up, Mark, because one of the three aspects of having a sanctuary state are, number one, the landmark court ruling, what was it, from 2017, that says you can't hold somebody longer than you should be able to hold them. Okay, from a civil libertarian point of view, I understand that, especially if you're a citizen. But if you're here illegally, I'm not sold on that. And number two is the fact that you can't even cooperate or ask about someone's citizenship. So there's the SJC ruling, the non-cooperation policy, and Mark Lombardo hits the nail on the head here. Number three is our judges. Our judges here in Massachusetts are issuing bail, sometimes with a GPS monitor, sometimes not, are issuing bail to these people that they shouldn't be on bail, right? If you're let's just theoretically say, if you're an illegal immigrant living in a hotel and you allegedly rape a 15-year-old, you shouldn't be on bail at all, with a GPS bracelet or not, right? You shouldn't be on. Some of these people that are being released and the immigration detainers are being ignored, as Mark Lombardo mentions. What is going on with our judiciary? This is a third thing that really hasn't gotten as much attention as it should. So I'm glad that he's mentioning it. And when Maura Healey says she doesn't know I don't know what a sanctuary state is. I don't know. What's a sanctuary state? You know it if it walks like a duck. Yeah, you know it, right? Everybody else knows it, Maura. And one of those aspects of having a sanctuary state, which Massachusetts absolutely positively is an incredibly weak judiciary. And this also applies to, obviously, people that are accused of crimes that are actually real citizens. There's a lot of people out in bail that probably shouldn't be. Up next, Joey Bats. Trump takeover clock ticking on illegal immigration en masse. Oh, by the way, Mayor Wu had her baby yesterday, healthy baby girl. Congratulations. But Joey Bats, where do they get these photos? Who took it's a Herald photo. They don't give credit to the photographer, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Trump takeover clock is ticking. So not a lot of news here, but I did want to mention, and good for Joey Bats for mentioning it, because he does ask the question about Middlesex County District Attorney Marian Ryan. Still has not explained why the father of a migrant girl was never arrested for allegedly repeatedly raping his daughter staying at the same shelter in Marlborough. He simply was transferred to another shelter instead. There has never been any accountability with Marian Ryan for why that is. And good job on Joey Bats in the Herald for bringing this up. Why is that? Why was he just sent to another shelter? It's inexplicable. It's inexplicable. And it does require some type of explanation. By the way, great to have you here today. Thank you so much for showing up. Let's see here. Someone fact checked me on Van Drew. formerly a Democrat. He has been a member of the Republican Party since 2020. Thank you. Yeah, that was my vague recollection. Thank you. Sally asks, why? Why? It sounds like you, Nancy Kerrigan. Why? I shouldn't make fun of the victim. Remember, she was the victim in that. But why are all these people released, Sally? It's inexplicable. Like, it's just a suicide it's suicidal empathy. I don't know what it is. Parasitic mind, as Gad said would say. It's just insane. Like, you just can't believe it. Like, if literally, even if you transport yourself 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you'd be like, what? Yeah, let me just put it this way. For all his faults, and he had a few, can you imagine Speaker Tom Finneran putting up with this BS? No way. No, right? No. Right? For all his fault, would Tom Finneran, who led the Massachusetts House, and didn't he? Yeah, he had some legal problem. Would he put up with that? No way. He probably also would never get elected speaker, but that's a topic for a different time. But that's the way it is, right? That's the way it is today in the modern world. A friend of the show, John Featherston, he's going to get mentioned twice in today's episode. This is an editorial from the Boston Herald. No sanctuary for rapists. It's hard to believe that there are actually people who think there should be sanctuary for rapists, which Featherston points out. Imagine having to write such a piece. Oh, that's right. We live in a state where this has been allowed to happen at unimaginable numbers. Yes, Massachusetts is a sanctuary state. And it's just like, you can't believe it. By the way, Featherston has his own piece in the Herald today, which I strongly recommend that you read, asking Massachusetts governor to step aside as she allowed the Healey hotels to become a catastrophe. And there's right, exactly. Like, you get the, since the California-Massachusetts connection is today's theme, you get it here. The excuses, the fire hydrant of excuses is open, and the leadership fire hydrant is closed. Inside the Healey Hotel catastrophe by John Featherston, first-person account. And we talked about this yesterday. You know, as we said, we don't need a better manager. We don't need a Charlie Baker to come in here and run this thing better. No, we need a leader that's going to stop it. And let me just use my favorite Rush Limbaugh'ism. It won't stop. It must be stopped. It won't stop. It must be stopped. I remember when I first heard Rush say that. I distinctly remember I was driving down the Mid-Cape Highway in the early 1990s during the middle of the LA riots. And I secretly listened to Rush Limbaugh because I was a Democrat, so I couldn't, but it was a Friday, I'm pretty sure, and I was headed to be in the district because I worked at the State House at the time. And this is what, 34 years ago or something like that. And I remember Rush said that the LA riots won't stop. And, you know, the way he would do that with such drama. And he would be like, the LA riots won't stop? Oh, my God, they won't stop. And then he like baited us as an audience. Like he had me on the hook, right? And then he said, it won't stop. The LA riots must be stopped. And this is the same thing with the invasion. The invasion won't stop. It must be stopped. Must be stopped. And all of what we're talking about today, I hope, is part of that. By the way, great to have you here today. Sally adds, yeah, people of the Commonwealth, please stop voting for these people. We need real leadership. It is absurd. It's like literally, if you just transplanted yourself, and you moved to Costa Rica for 10 years and came back, or you moved to, I don't know, someplace, you moved to the Arctic Circle and you just planted yourself there and news and then you came back to Massachusetts, you'd be like, what the? Like, you can't, until you get out of the bubble, you don't understand how crazy it is here. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. By the way, I saw Amy Carnevale, chairwoman of the Massachusetts GOP, on Fox. You would have heard her here on this channel last week, but she basically just did the same interview on Fox News this morning that she did with us last week. So you always hear it here first, sort of. All right, so let's move on. Since we're talking about Massachusetts government, I want to move on to the situation with the audit real quick on the audit. They're stymieing, or they're trying to stymie, and they're trying to look cooperative. And one of the most recent things that they have done with the audit is say, oh yeah, let's have a meeting. Senate Democrats have said, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about it. No, the time for talking is over. The time for auditing is now, right? And so Diana DiZioglio, who I still can't pronounce her name, even though I've met her a couple of times last year, but I still can't do the name. Identifies this as clearly as a delay tactic, and I think actually that's a quote from Mass Fiscal, if I'm not sure. But that's what's going on here. Hold on, let me just check the onboard computer. Oh, that's fine. That's what's going on. It's a delay tactic, absolutely, positively. And what is also going on in the background is she has now officially requested, she's in the process of doing it, and this is where the rubber's going to meet the road. She has officially requested the state attorney general, Andrea Campbell, to represent her in a lawsuit against the legislature. And so that will be the next big cookie to crumble on this story, as BOR has the headline. Auditor looks to Attorney General to break her standoff with legislature. This was from late last week, in case you missed it. I'm not sure we did an update, but the we're going to have a meeting with you to talk about it is BS. It's all a delay tactic. There's no meeting. There's no all it is give me the passwords to your financials, show me the filing cabinet, and let's bring in the people with the green eye shades and the number 2 Ticonderogas, and let's get this audit off the ground, right? That's what it should be. That's what it should be. And by the way, thank you, Woodskiff16, for suggesting that the theme of today's show be the Healey Newsom parallels, Massachusetts, California parallels. Thank you for that suggestion. Congresswoman Pressley, she needs help. She needs help. She is hiring a new press secretary. Apply if you would like to be considered. Bostonians against Mayor Wu. Yeah, so there's a happy to share that Team Pressley is hiring a press secretary for either the DC or Boston offices. Oh, you have your choice. Apply now if you want to join a fast-paced comms team and do some impactful storytelling, not truth-telling, storytelling on behalf of the Congresswoman for the Massachusetts 7th. Well, you're going to tell quite a few stories. First off, you're going to have to blame why Walgreens and CVS is closing in your neighborhood. In fact, let's bring up this story from California, where they're closing some Walgreens. More.
This is the closest pharmacy.
Remember, it was only 2 months ago when a car rammed into the front entrance of this location. Construction crews at the time said it was an unsuccessful attempt at breaking into the ATM and part of a concerning trend in the Bay Area.
It's disheartening, to say the least.
Wait,
This is the closest pharmacy.
Was the Walgreens?
Remember, it was only 2 months ago when a car rammed into the front entrance of this location.
I think it was.
Construction crews at the time said,
yes, it is. That's just got to be a coincidence. That's got to be a coincidence.
to say the least. Yeah.
In a statement, Walgreens called the closures necessary and said increased regulatory and reimbursement pressures are weighing on our ability to cover the costs associated with rent, staffing, and supply needs.
So basically, they can't make money.
Although the company made no mention of crime or shoplifting as the reason, neighbors say they see it all the time.
I mean, I get it. I've seen horrible things happen in here. Like people stealing things, just coming in the bags and just going into their bag.
Racist. Obviously, Brandon, the fact that you noticed that was happening makes you a racist, Brandon. How dare you San Francisco resident, notice that people might be stealing things from the local Walgreens. And it's just a matter of time before more Walgreens and or CVS closes, especially in the inner city. And as a press officer for Congresswoman Pressley, you're going to have to write a press statement explaining how it's not your policies, but it's racism of these big corporations, these bad corporations. These bad corporations that you so desperately want to have operate in your district. You ever notice that like CVS and Walgreens, they're racist for leaving? So why do you want them in your neighborhood so bad? Yeah. The grift is what a tangle web do we weave when we what is it aim to deceive, or however it goes. Unbelievable. The far left is very excited because two people, talk about judges, Mark Lombardo, two people got elected to the governor's council, and not that they're qualified or unqualified from a intellectual point of view or experience point of view. The most important thing about their qualifications is, Bueller, anyone? The color of their skin. The color of their skin. It's made history. A new governor's council, and you can read this over at horizonmass.news. A new governor's council already made history, but will it bring change to Massachusetts? And they talk about the two new counselors. Two new counselors right there. Trish Civil, or Tamisha Civil, I should say, and Eugene Ziegler. They're the two new counselors. And also Maura Dolan, who beat the wacko Marilyn Devaney, as we all know. Like, if there was ever a race that you could say that you wanted both of them to lose, it was Maura Dolan, she's got TB, right? She is as far left nut job as you possibly can. But Marilyn Devaney she's just whacked. She's off her rocker. But now, to be fair, Maura Dolan is a more worthy opponent. She's actually can understand that 2 + 2 is 4. I think she understands that. She's an articulate person. Let's just put it that way. Where Marilyn Devaney was just whacked. She's just crazy. But here it is. Back to Mark Lombardo's point from the top of the show, historic nominee faces judicial confirmation questioning. January 8th Governor Council hearing was groundbreaking in another way. Members vetted attorney. How does the Governor's Council vet anybody? Is that the same way that Maura vets people in the migrant hotels? I don't know. Attorney Connor Baruch, who is in line potentially to be the first transgender judge in Massachusetts. In December 2024, Maura nominated Baruch to serve as the Associate Justice of the Boston Municipal Court. The nomination came as part of a slate of 4 potential judges, 2 of whom, including Baruch, came from the Committee for Public Counsel Services. These are public defenders, so that represented indigent criminals. So let's set aside the whole sexual orientation debate for a second. How do we need more public defenders on the bench? No, we do not. But sounds like we're getting more. And so when you start to talk about judicial problem with the wrong people getting bail, it might start with the governor's council and the governor, who obviously nominates judges to begin with. The Democrats, I reported this on X, I don't know, several weeks ago. The Democrats are on a listening tour virtually. They're running a virtual listening. This is so funny. Like, you can't even to me, this is hilarious. Thank you. Run by Jamie Eldridge. Who are they listening to? Thank you, Mass Dems, for the virtual listening sessions on state direction of the Democrat. Oh, they're having a listening tour to listen to their own party members. Tonight, I emphasize that Democrats must fight for bolder economic justice, stand up against corporate special interests, and cited Robert B. Reich message about democracy and oligarchy. Oh, God. So, all right. So the Democrat listening tour, now I understand it. That obviously why I didn't get my invite, must have been lost in the mail. The Democrat listening tour is listening exclusively to Democrats. The Democrat listening tour is listening exclusively to Democrats. Can't make this shit up. Like, literally. I think this might be the last California, Massachusetts angle in today's show, but we do have quite a bit more. I'm just getting started. But I did notice that in California, they have a minority leader of the Massachusetts Senate who's actually an active minority leader, from what I can tell from 3,000 miles away. He's not in the tank with the Democrats based upon the interview he gave this morning. At least it didn't sound like it. And you know what? His name is Jones. Pure coincidence, but it is possible, I guess, to be named Jones and to actually be a minority leader. I know this is a shameless, cheap shot on our minority leader, Brad Jones, but I'm just taking it. It fell in my lap. I mean, I can't help that one. By the way, the House and Senate Republicans in Massachusetts are holding a press conference today, as is Maura. I think the House and Senate Republicans are having a press conference on the migrant hotels at 11 a.m. And Maura has something at 11:45. It escapes me at the moment. Next up, Wallet Hub. I don't know how much Wallet Hub is really doing here to research this, but they're drinking the Kool-Aid. Wallet Hub names Massachusetts the best state to raise a family in. Again, 3 other state. It's like they didn't have the budget to rewrite the article this year. That's what I'm thinking. Make way for the ducklings. Oh, it looks like a beautiful spring day. In 2021, Massachusetts supplanted Minnesota as Wallet Hub's annual ranking for the best state to raise a family, and the Bay State never looked back. Yeah, someone's got to go and do a deep dive on the connection between Wallet Hub and Maura Healey, right? We briefly mentioned this yesterday, but Mayor Wu is back again with some type of tax cut proposal because the bills have hit people's inbox or mailbox and it's not looking pretty. And the firing squad is out in Boston for who's responsible for this. It's pretty ugly. I don't know who runs this operation that's called the Boston Policy Institute, but they parsed Mayor Wu's statement the other day. And the guy who runs it is called Greg Maynard. I think he's a former Walsh guy, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can fact check me on that. Or Menino guy. But this is like reading the Kremlin tea leaves. Apparently, in item 6 of Mayor Wu's statement the other day, and she never uses the word budget cut because you can't actually be truthful about these things. That is the thing. And you've probably heard this phrase before. Socialism, communism, by the way, of which there is no difference. The only difference is how you spell the 2 words, of which I probably can't spell either of them. The only difference is there is no difference. and they make a liar out of everybody, right? You've probably heard that phrase before, that cliche. But somewhere in this statement here in item 6, apparently item 6 is some type of admission that they are considering budget cuts. One of the 6 policies described in the letter accompanied Wu that sent to City Council, that Wu sent to the City Council today, was not part of the field tax shift proposal that represents a major change in City Hall policy, an unprecedented mid-year budget cut. Here's that policy. And we're not going to read paragraph 6, but maybe you should have done that a long time ago rather than up your budget by 8% in the most recent fiscal year. Just throwing it out there. Maybe you should have done that. Maybe you should have done that. By the way, great to have you here today. Let's see what our next comment is. A large portion, according to Bill, of the legislature are attorneys by profession. That's what's working for us. Yes, attorneys are a big profession. Insurance agents, real estate agents. Yeah. Those are probably the top 3. Lawyers, insurance, real estate. Those are probably the top 3. I'm guessing school teacher or retired school teacher is probably somewhere on the list. Or / union organizer, professional politician. How about, Bill, professional politician never had a real job outside of the public sector? That's probably way up on the list, right? Ed Markey. Ice Cream Man, right? So I don't know if you heard this, but the other day, last week sometime, some guy got arrested in Dorchester, and he had 700 packs, I think it was 700 packs or cartons or whatever. He had a lot of cigarettes from, I think, North Carolina. So he probably drove down to North Carolina and drove up here, and he was selling them at the street corner in Dorchester. And they busted him for selling tobacco. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big tobacco fan, and I've never had a cup of coffee, and I've never had a cigarette for that matter, except for all the thousands of passive cigarettes that I smoked because I grew up in the 70s when all my parents, well, my mother didn't smoke, but my dad smoked. Like a lot of people smoked, right? Kind of still the Mad Men era, like everyone smoked in the 70s. And that kind of started to change in the mid 80s, even the late 80s, into the 90s. I remember at the State House, I remember Mary Jeanette Murray, she would smoke in the build. Like nowadays, that would be, like the daggers would be out for, like literally. But so I'm no big fan of tobacco, but it was shocking because illegal cigarettes is like a scam from the 1950s or something. Selling cigarettes without the tax stamp, that like goes back. Isn't that a scene in Goodfellas? I'm pretty sure that's a scene in Goodfellas, if I'm not mistaken. So what is happening here in society is that we're making tobacco effectively illegal, verboten, but we're making pot, which is also, you smoke it, right? Legal. We're making pot legal, but tobacco illegal. And a lot of controversy, but don't both contribute to like lung cancer because you're smoking? Of course, now you can take nicotine in a different manner. You don't have to smoke nicotine, and you don't have to smoke marijuana. I'm sorry. Let me use the politically correct cannabis. Mary Jane, you can smoke it or not smoke it. You can, the gummy bears and all that, right? But the other day, this story popped up, and Gene Levanchi from Fox 25 is going to explain to us the absurdity of some of these laws. And the
law is
here
clear.
We go.
Someone has to be 21 years old to buy tobacco products. Ray is here now. Ray, some local communities actually taking that a step.
So you have to be 21 in some communities now to buy tobacco products. Again, not a big fan of the tobacco industry here, but I am a fan of like rationalism. So listen,
further.
Yeah, Gene, just this month, Needham became the 12th community in Massachusetts to grandfather the right to buy cigarettes and other smoking materials. So if you are not 21 before the start of the year, you'll never be able to buy products with nicotine in that town. Now,
unless you buy it out of the back of a trunk of someone's car.
There's a push to make this a statewide policy. If you were born after January 1st, 2004, you'll never be able to buy nicotine-infused products in Needham. It's called the Nicotine-Free Generation Policy.
Nicotine and tobacco products, aren't safe in any amounts. They're the only products that, if used correctly, will kill you.
All right, I got to stop it right there. They're the only products that used correctly will kill you. Oh, really? Let me introduce you to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and this whole new school of thought that maybe all of our processed foods are killing us, right? Let me just be completely ridiculous for a second, but do you think if you eat too many Fruit Loops and all the coloring that goes into it, don't sue me, General Mills, do you think that's really good for you? Do you think that could actually kill you, right? And not only that, not only the coloring, but the sugar, Coca-Cola, right? Is it the only product that, if used correctly, will kill you? I think there might be actually a lot more products out there that could kill you. And the reason why I think this policy is incredibly short-sighted is you just have to go to Maine and realize what happens when you make the price of marijuana through regulation artificially high. And when you make the price of marijuana through regulation and taxation artificially high, people start to grow it in rural Maine for cheap, illegally. And you invite, who does that? Does the Mainer, does the 9th generation Mainer with one tooth do that? No, Chinese organized crime does that, right? That's who does it. And they put it in a Sprinter van, and they drive it down to New York City on I-95, which is a day's drive, right? And so if you start to do this with tobacco, and you can't buy it in large swaths of the Commonwealth or even statewide, which is what the next push will be, you're not going to see just one knucklehead selling cigarettes out of the trunk of his car in Dorchester. It'll be a growth industry. It'll be a growth industry. It'll be the same thing as the illegal marijuana grows. People will pour into Massachusetts, and it will fuel organized crime. And that's exactly what's happening with marijuana. It's just like, it's amazing to me how just so many people don't have a basic understanding of basic human nature and basic economics. Last story for today. Governor Healey. Oh, Governor Healey. That's who I wanted to talk about. Governor Healey came out the other day with a proposal to ban real estate broker fees. As you know, I'm in the real estate business. I don't rent apartments myself, but I have 2-3 agents that do it. And so it's not a huge part of our business, but it's something we do. And just like the economic math of that is just, let's just say that the apartment is, let's just make it easy. It's this is a mythical apartment because rents are so much higher, but it will make it easy to do the math. Let's just say that the apartment is $1,200 a month. The fee is usually equal to the rent. So that would be $1,200. And if the landlord's going to pay the fee to the salesperson, who's basically the real estate agent, then what do you think he's going to do to recoup the cost of the fee? Anyone? Bueller? He's going to add that to the monthly rent. Now, stick with me, class. It's not hard to understand. So the rent will go from $1,200 to $1,300. And he'll recoup the fee that he had to pay his salesperson over the course of the year. Okay, no problem. But here's why it's a massive rent increase. Because After a year, he's recouped his money. But on month 13, if the lease is renewed, and for every month thereafter, that $100, does it go to the real estate agent? No. Does it go back to the tenant? No. It stays in the pocket of the landlord for the rest of the lease. So when you ban broker fees, you increase rents. It's really super simple to understand if you want to understand. But the politics of it are also irresistible for people who don't understand basic math and or human nature. And the politics of it is it sounds really good, as does a lot of socialism. It sounds really good, but it hurts you in the end. It hurts the very people they're trying to help in the end. It's just amazing how, because that money will now be baked into your rent, not only in the first year, but every year thereafter. It's a massive rent hike, but the politics of it are irresistible because there are a lot more renters than there are real estate agents and or landlords. So oh yeah, those are evil. Okay. Good luck finding an apartment, and good luck with that rent increase. Who do you think? Who can you thank for that rent increase? Maura Healey. All right, I'm John F. Gately. Thank you so much for watching today. You have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.